Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting us to be here today. I'm very pleased to be able to join you all. And I'm presenting this with Youcheng Mark Ding, who we're both from the Department of Sociology at UBC. The data for this presentation comes from the study of international student integration at UBC. And this is a project that I created in 2006 for purely pedagogical reasons. I teach qualitative research methods, and I thought I want my students to get some experience conducting qualitative interviews. What should they interview about? So I have them every year interview international students on campus to get some really hands-on experience. The students in my classes interview them about how they're integrating into the UBC community and into Canada. They want to investigate what supports these students use and what additional supports, if any, they might feel that they need. And the study also explores their post-graduation career and immigration plans, so many of the things that people here are interested in. And as you all know, international students have been growing at UBC as well as at other universities across Canada. In 2016, international students made up 24% of all UBC students. And the administration, like at many other universities, has made a deliberate effort to recruit students. And that's partly to fulfill the mission of making it a global university, but also the university benefits from having them there, from their tuition dollars, as well as the experience they bring. So I created this project partly to consider whether the students are getting the support and services that they need to succeed at the university and to feel like full members of the student body. So every year that I teach qualitative research methods, my students conduct interviews. My undergraduate students conduct an interview with one international student. My graduate students interview one international and one domestic student for comparison. And I should note that this is actually not the primary topic of my research. So I do this partly as a public resource. And one reason I wanted to come here today is to let you know that these data are available for anyone who might be interested in analyzing and working with them. There are now 474 qualitative interviews with international students spanning from 2006 to 2017. Of those, 292 are with international students, and 182 of them are with domestic students. And basically, I make the data available to students or anyone else who wants to analyze and work with it, including Youcheng here. So please feel free to contact me if that's something that you might be interested in doing. For today's talk, we're going to focus on the interviews with international students from the two most recent rounds of interviewing, that was in 2014 and 2017. And the study overall focuses on international students who plan to complete their degree at UBC, so not temporary exchange students. We also focus on those who didn't attend all their secondary school in Canada. So some of them might have had a year or two, but not all their secondary school in Canada. And then to recruit the international students for this study, most of the students in my qualitative methods classes interview someone they know. But if they don't know someone who's eligible, I give them a recruiting email that they can send around to all of their friends and ask them to pass it on to other people who they may know who might be eligible. And I tell them that they can also make an announcement in their classes or activities. They can ask to go into large lecture classes like Sociology 100, where we have a lot of international students. They can visit student dormitories or International House, which we'll talk more about, post notices, or post announcements on a website for any of their other classes. So I should note that this is not a random sample, but it provides qualitative information on a large number of international students on campus. Of the 62 students interviewed in the two most recent waves of the interviews, about a quarter of them have citizenship from China. About 15% have US citizenship, about 7% listed Singapore, 5% listed the UK, and then we have smaller percentages from a large number of other countries. And these international students are using a lot of services on campus, a lot of different kinds of services. So among those that they mention, they talk about academic advising services being very important, housing services, health services, including mental health, counseling. They use something called the Student Service Center, which is an online portal that directs them to websites for a variety of different services. A number of tutoring programs. They often meet with enrollment service professionals who are staff that support students in registering for classes and meeting their program requirements. They often work with career services, International House, which is really a hub for several services catering to international students that we'll talk a little more about. Safe Walk, which is a transportation service that will accompany students on campus, and many, many others. So we talked with students about their experiences using these services and what more they felt they desired. And generally, they said that their experience with these services was fine. Their biggest complaint was the long wait times, particularly for academic advising services and health services. But what really came out was that they got the most out of services where they developed a personal connection, where they felt that the service provider got to know them personally and could provide information tailored to their needs, rather than just referring them to somebody else or to a website. So for example, an undergraduate student from Jamaica explained why she relies most on her international student advisor. We asked her, "Which of these services do you use the most?" And she said, "My international student advisor, John," that's a pseudonym, "I love him. He helped me through first year a lot. He's the person I go to and cry to. John, I'm not doing anything right. I'm failing all my subjects," which I wasn't. I was overreacting as usual. "I think my international student advisor knows me personally and can give me more chill advice, because when I go to arts advising, they lead me around in circles. I'm asking like I want someone's honest opinion. They say, hey, you should check out these people. Oh, go check out poli-sci advising. Oh, go check out these services. But I don't want it. I just want them to tell me. I want someone to bounce ideas off of. And my international student advisor is someone who I can do that with." And by contrast, it was often the lack of a personal connection that students most often objected to with the academic advising services. A third-year student from France said of academic advising, "They know their job, so it's easy to get a straight answer, but sometimes it feels like they're giving generic answers, like they kind of fake active listen to you, because it's their job. And so they feel a bit robotic. Sometimes it was a bit frustrating. Like, for instance, at the arts advising, they say, 'Next customer, please.' And I'm like, I'm not a customer." And similarly, a third-year student from Taiwan said, "I went in and asked a question. He just gave up straight the website answer. It felt like he didn't want to go that extra to help you out. It was just like, answer quick, get out, and switch. Next person's in and tries to get through everyone."
So one place that's meant to be a center of support for international students at UBC is International House. Yet only 57% of the international students interviewed had any experience with it. And of those who did, though, 66% described it as a positive experience. When students speak of their positive experiences at iHouse, they usually mention receiving help with a Go Global program, which is a program that provides international learning opportunities like study abroad programs, and getting information on health insurance, getting help with renewal of study permits or visas, and getting information on work permits after graduation. A first-year student from Nigeria described her positive experience with iHouse as, "I went there to apply for my study permit extension, and it was very helpful. They literally helped me apply. I was trying to see if I could apply for like another family member, We went on to discuss about that. She spent a lot of time on me, almost like she had all the time to spend on me in the world. Those who described more negative experiences at iHouse talked about having to wait a long time to see an advisor, or that staff weren't able to help them with their visa problems. So for example, a second-year student from the US said, I thought they could help me with my study permit. I went there and they were like, oh, actually we don't know how to help you. And so then that was another frustrating run-in trying to get communication from someone. And that was the only time I went. But it's also worth noting that many international students, 43%, had no experience with iHouse at all. And many of them said they hadn't heard of iHouse, and the others said they didn't need to visit. We also asked students about any services or programs that would be helpful for adapting to UBC. While there was a wide range of suggestions, a few ideas were mentioned repeatedly. Many students said they regretted not taking part in any orientation programs. UBC offers Jumpstart, which is a multi-day orientation to the university for first-year students that takes place in August, and as well as other orientation programs. When asked about what services they want, a first-year student from Vietnam mentioned orientation, the very first sessions that I missed before I arrived here. If I had had a chance to get these kind of sessions before, I think it wouldn't have taken me a long, long time for getting adapted to the live UBC environment. So students who weren't able to come for that week, who weren't aware of the time or how useful it would be, or who transferred in after the first year, often realized that after the fact that they missed out on a valuable resource. And providing an option to join an orientation program after your first year could help fill the gap for these students. Some international students mentioned how useful it would be to have orientation programs or other resources specifically geared towards helping them adapt to Canada and various aspects of Canadian life. This was particularly emphasized for racialized students. A fourth-year student from South Africa said, I know for other, particularly African students, they aren't given anything, and a lot of the important adaptations, sort of adjustment stuff, was done by other students. So sending them to stationery shops and taking them around the city and showing them how the university works and how to print, etc., like very integral things to do at the university, even though there's tons of support in libraries, things that you can always ask someone, but it's intimidating. And being someone that sticks out like a sore thumb in the university, particularly racialized students, I don't think the university knows how to deal with that, but they should. Other students mentioned wanting more of an introduction to living in Vancouver, how to dress for the weather, learning the Canadian spelling and writing style, or more information about Canadian government and Canadian society. As with many services that are available but not taken advantage of, many international students find it intimidating to have to go and ask an advisor or professional, and prefer a much more comfortable, low-cost solution. Many of the types of services students mentioned might fall under the heading of peer mentoring or a buddy system, particularly one that matched them with more advanced students or Canadian students. A third-year student from China said, I think I mentioned this before. When I was helping a first-year student myself, I think I could be helped by an elder student here. Some mentioned that it would be helpful to have a peer they could turn to for things like registering for classes or navigating online resources. These are things the university provides advisors to help with, but students thought it would be so much easier to have a peer they could talk to instead. One fifth-year student with US and Swedish citizenship suggested having something like a student matching system for meeting students elsewhere on campus. It might have been cool to have, not like a pen pal, but when you are living in Totem, which is his dorm, to have a way to meet people that live in other dorms. Because once you are locked into your floor, you don't meet anyone anywhere else. And like a little within campus pen pal system, or like older, not mentoring necessarily, but more getting someone who is a third or fourth year as a study buddy or something. While not mentioned by students, it seems that the desire for more orientation to Canadian life could be paired with these desire for peer mentoring by matching international students with older Canadian students. This could help international students both with navigating the programs and services at UBC, and also help them learn more about life in Canada off campus. So to conclude, students take up services at low rates, even though they say they want the very services that are offered. In part, they're overwhelmed with information when they first arrive. But they also want a personal connection, someone they can call for answers and learn from, both about the university and about life in Canada. Peer mentoring that matches international students with more advanced domestic students may be helpful in meeting both of these needs. Thank you.